guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Devin and this is Little Sight Glamorous Life, and I am so happy to be back. I know it's been a while since I made a video, but with the holidays and everything, I just really wanted to take time to spend with my family and everything, but I'm so glad to be back with you guys. And as you can tell, I'm in a different setup. I decided, because of the topic that I'm going to talk about today, that I kind of wanted to be in a little bit more comfortable of a space. So yeah, this is our new little background for this video. So I was inspired to make this video by a podcast that I actually heard not too long ago, and it struck a lot of chords with me, but especially on this topic. So the topic that we're going to be talking about today is sexual harassment and also sexual assault in dance. And I will also be sharing with you my story in terms of this. So I want to make a disclaimer now, just saying that if you have experienced sexual assault in any shape, form, or fashion, or sexual harassment, please be mindful if you decide to watch this video, and if you decide not to as well, that is perfectly okay. Mental health, emotional health, just all over health is really important. So please be mindful of yourself, or if you know someone else who has dealt with this, please be mindful of them as well as we go into this video. So without further ado, let's jump into this video. So sexual harassment and assault, I think we all know what this is, and how it is a problem and continues to be a problem. I am thankful that I have never been sexually assaulted. I have been sexually harassed on multiple occasions, primarily when going out in social situations with my friends and just having a lot of inappropriate touches and language and things of that nature. But it wasn't until recently that I experienced sexual harassment in terms of my career. So if you don't already know, let me say that again. So if you don't already know, I am a professional dancer, and the topic of sexual harassment in terms of dance is not something that's talked about often, but it is something that definitely exists, unfortunately, and has for a very, very, very long time. So I just want to be open and honest about my experience and about some of the experiences that I have seen with this, because dance is just like any other profession. And as we've seen with the Me Too movements and Time's Up movements, this is a problem in multiple different lines of work. It's also a problem across multiple genders as well. So as I talk about this, I'm going to try to be gender neutral, because I want to recognize the fact that this happens and could happen and has happened to absolutely anybody. So like I said, the sexual harassment I've experienced in the past was kind of just in social situations. Of course, it was not wanted and it was very uncomfortable, and I wish that it hadn't happened. But I never really thought that it would happen to me in terms of my career. And I think that's why, out of all the times that I've ever been harassed, this one was particularly bothersome to me. I was dancing with a company, and we had a guest artist. Let me redo that. So I was dancing with the company, and we had a guest artist. And if you don't know what a guest artist is, that's someone that they pay to come in and either like teach master classes or set pieces or something like that. So we had a guest artist, and we were working with this person for about a week's time. It was a very intricate piece and had a lot of different parts to it and everything. So my first day working with this person, I just looked at them like any other person. I try to be a very non-judgmental person, so I didn't really think anything about this person other than just being open and seeing what we were going to do and the process and what we were going to create. And I remember very clearly coming into the dance studio, meeting this person for the first time, and almost immediately feeling very uncomfortable with the way this person was looking at me. It was a look I've never really gotten from anybody before. And it was just kind of that whole, I don't know how to describe it other than a lot of people will call it, I guess, the undressing me with your eyes look, but far more intense than that. And I immediately felt uncomfortable because I just wasn't used to anyone looking at me that way, and I was a little bit confused by it. But I thought, you know what, maybe I'm reading too much into it. It's probably not that big of a deal. I won't worry about it. It's fine. And so as the week went on, I noticed that this person was constantly coming up with situations to where we would end up alone with each other, or this person would purposely engage conversations with me and only me, particularly in situations where maybe we were on a break or something like that, and so this person would single me out. I also noticed that whenever this person was talking to me or having communication with me, they would stand uncomfortably close. And to be fair, sometimes when you tell people that you have a visual impairment, they jump to the conclusion of, oh, I need to be close to you so that you can see me. And that has happened a few times where I just kind of had to explain, like, no, it's okay. You don't have to be that close to me. I can see you. I do have some vision. And that kind of changes things. So I kind of thought maybe that's what it was at first. But after I made it very clear about my visual impairment and everything, I realized very quickly that it had nothing to do with that this person was just purposely getting very, very uncomfortably close to me. So I just kind of tried to do my best to be with the group of other dancers as much as possible, to not be alone with this person. But there were so many instances where I just got caught off guard that it was almost impossible. So by this point, I was kind of confused and feeling really uncomfortable and kind of second guessing myself and thinking, you know, is this really, am I being harassed? Like, I don't know. Or am I just being overly dramatic? Like, what is going on? And I don't think anyone else noticed, which made it even more awkward. So I was just kind of like, okay, I don't really know what to do. I don't know how to feel about this. Like, I don't know. And so I just went through the week just trying to get through the experience and trying to ignore how uncomfortable I felt, and just thinking, okay, this time it will pass and it won't be such a big deal. So then we got to the end of the week and we were participating in a final performance with this particular piece. And we came in early to do some rehearsal for this piece, and I remember getting there early and I was already really nervous because I was show ready. Like, I had my hair done, I had my makeup done and everything. And of course, when you're wearing makeup, it enhances things. You look a little bit different. So I was already worried that me walking in, not looking like my normal self, was going to make things even more uncomfortable, and I was definitely right. I remember coming on stage with everybody else and seeing this person, and the look that they gave me the very first time we met returned, and in my opinion was much more intense and made me feel even more uncomfortable. Fast forward to us getting ready to do this piece, and I was wearing an outfit that I had put together from my own clothes. We had decided that that's what we were going to do, to look more pedestrian. And that at the time, I only had like one, I think, white tank top. I don't wear a lot of white, so I only had one, and it was one of those like cute, kind of sporty athleisure type shirts, and it was kind of cut out in the back a little bit, and I knew that where we were going to be performing was kind of cold, and I didn't really want all my back out necessarily for this particular situation. So I had a gray kind of cardigan type thing that I wore over it with some jeans and sneakers. And we had confirmed all of our costumes and everything the day before, and so obviously I came prepared. I was wearing what I needed to wear, and we were standing in a circle, and this particular person looked around the circle at all of us one last time before we started doing our final rehearsal. And I watched as this person scanned all of us up and down, which I was definitely not feeling great about, but there was nothing I could do. And when this person got to me, that look returned again. And then this person said, "I think you would look better without that cardigan on. Can you take it off and let me see what it looks like?" And I remember thinking to myself, I'm not wrong. I can't be wrong. Out of everyone in this room, you asked me to remove some of my clothing. And for most people looking at this from the outside in, they would probably say, oh, it wasn't a big deal, or, choreographers have the right to change costumes and things like that. And in a sense, I agree. But because of everything that happened leading up to this moment, I knew that there was something that wasn't right about this situation. But at this particular time, I was in front of all of my other dancers and my artistic director, so I had no choice but to do what I was being asked. And so I removed my cardigan I was wearing, which then exposed my entire back. And then this person proceeded to ask me to turn around so that they could look at me. And I remember turning around and literally feeling shivers go down my back. And when I was done turning around, I met this person's eye gaze again, and that same look just made me feel physically sick. And this person said, "Yes, I think that's better." And I can't quite explain how I felt in that moment, because I felt very I felt exposed, I felt angry, I felt embarrassed, I felt confused, but most of all, I just felt so angry because I knew that no one else in that room knew or understood what was going on and what was happening in that moment and what had happened before. Because before this moment had even happened, this particular person had found me backstage once again, alone, without anybody else. And it just didn't get any better. And for that to happen for me to be singled out, asked to take off some of my clothes, and this happening in front of everybody and they have no idea what's going on, was one of the worst feelings I've ever felt in my entire life. And so I think after that point, I had to perform, so I just kind of shoved it in the back of my mind and did what I had to do, because that's what you have to do sometimes, unfortunately. And I didn't say anything because I didn't think anyone would believe me. I didn't think that anyone would listen to me. I didn't really think that anybody would care, because I have seen things like this and other things way worse happen to some of my friends, and you just don't think that it'll happen to you. And so I just kind of came to the conclusion of, you know what, maybe you just dreamed it and it wasn't as bad as you thought. Maybe that whole moment was just a moment where you had to follow instructions and there was nothing else that you could do, and maybe you were reading into it too much and you weren't being harassed and you weren't being looked at oddly, and the feelings that you couldn't get out of your brain and the chills that were going down your spine, maybe all that wasn't real. And so I convinced myself of that, and I pushed it in the back of my brain and I forgot about it. And then I was in a festival not that long ago, and it was a improvisation festival, and a lot of the improvisation in this festival was contact. And to explain contact improv, it's really what it sounds like. You're improv dancing and making contact, physical contact with others. And so when I went, I did not know that this particular person was going to be there. And so I was there and I was enjoying it and having a really good time and reconnecting with my friends and people that I feel like are my family. And then I was going to the very last class of the festival. And I was waiting around in a lobby area and I heard someone call my name. And I knew instantly it was the same person. And all I can say is that when people say their heart skipped a beat, that's exactly what mine did. Like, my heart skipped a beat, I froze, and I just didn't know what to do. And like usual, I turned around and I was met with that exact same look, and it made me just as sick as it did the first time. And I knew there was nothing I could do at this point than to be nice and cordial as best I could. And so I was. And I just made very small talk and then walked away, only to find out that we were going to the same class, which was a contact improv class. And I just remember thinking to myself, you can't let this person touch you, because you know what's going to happen if you do. And so I made a conscious decision that no matter what we were doing, what was happening in this class, I had to protect myself and not let this person ever physically touch me. Because regardless to how much doubt I felt the first time we were around each other, I just knew for a fact that if we had ever physically touched each other in any shape, form, or fashion, that it was probably going to result in something that I would never forget for the rest of my life. And so when it came to this class, I did what I had to do. I stayed on the opposite side of the room. I tried to watch as best as I could, which is not easy, being visually impaired, but I used every ounce of vision I had because I had to, because I just knew in my heart that if I didn't protect myself in some shape, form, or fashion, something was going to happen to me. And I refused, at this point, I refused to let this person take anything else from me than they already had. And so after that experience was over, I just remember leaving feeling as sick as I did the first time, knowing that we were in a space, in a situation where I could have easily have been sexually assaulted or worse, or who knows. And it was a situation where contact and touching was a part of it. So it easily could have been something where that could have happened. No one would have noticed and no one would have cared. So I'm saying all of this because I just kind of recently came to terms that I was in fact sexually harassed with this situation, that I wasn't being overly dramatic, that I wasn't just making up something, that the things that were making me feel uncomfortable were actually uncomfortable, and that what happened to me and having to take my clothes off in front of everyone and being the only person that had to do it, and seeing that look in this person's face over and over again, purposely being cornered all the time, that in fact was sexual harassment. Because I think I convinced myself that because I wasn't touched, I wasn't being harassed, and that's not the truth. It never is. Harassment can be someone saying really inappropriate things to you. Harassment can be someone obviously touching you, and even just the way someone looks at you, or the way that if they're standing too close to you all the time, all of those things, it's all harassment, and it's never okay. And keeping it 100% honest, this kind of thing happens all the time, and it happens in dance. It does. It happens, unfortunately, to young children a lot of the times. It happens to professionals. It happens all the time. And because of the nature of our career, where a lot of times touching is involved, there are far more opportunities, unfortunately, for things like this to happen. And people aren't talking about it because it's uncomfortable. Because some people don't want to talk about it because they're probably doing it themselves, or it's happened to them. And it's not easy to talk about. No one wants to talk about it. But the truth is that how is anything going to change unless you do talk about it? So I'm very passionate about this because it has happened to me. And to be honest with you, I don't know if that will be the first or last time. I hope that it's not something that ever happens to me ever again. But like I said, with the nature of dancing, it's almost too easy for it to happen again. And I just want to spread awareness to people who don't know about this. I want to spread awareness to people who this has happened to, and just bring forth the reality that this is happening all the time. And that when you think it couldn't possibly happen to you, that it can. And you have to be strong, and you have to be alert, and you have to find the strength to say, this is wrong. This shouldn't be happening to me. And I have to get my power back, because when something like this happens to you, you do lose something. I don't know if I know exactly what to call it, but something is lost, and I don't know that you ever really get it back. But all I know is that because of this experience, I think, I am a little bit more cautious. I pay a little bit closer attention to people as much as I can. And it's a scary thing, especially being a visually impaired woman. Blind and visually impaired people, I don't know the exact statistic, but it's staggering how often blind and visually impaired people are sexually assaulted and sexually harassed far more than sighted people, primarily because we can't be as aware as sighted people can. So there's a part of me that's always worried that something like that could happen to me, not because I'm not trying to be aware, I'm not trying to pay attention to my surroundings, but because I have a condition that kind of prevents that from being the best that it can be. So I definitely have lost something. And I think some of that might be trust. I don't know. But the main thing I want people to take away from this is to know that you're not alone. It has happened to so many of us, and it's not right. And if you think something isn't right, it's not right. If you get that weird chill down your spine, if you feel that queasy feeling, if something or a look someone gives you sends chills down your spine, it's for a reason. It is for a reason. So don't doubt yourself. Don't ever doubt the feeling that something is not right. Because that's what I did, and that's how I convinced myself that this wasn't a big deal, and that was not the truth. It was not the truth at all. So that's the thing I really want you guys to take away from this. And to take away that you have to stand up for yourself. As hard as that is sometimes, and trust me, I know I'm a person that I'm a very passive, very chill person, and I let things slide a lot. I'm not very quick to anger or anything like that. And so something like this happening to me, it was easy for me not to say anything. Looking back on it, do I wish I had? Honestly, part of me thinks yes, and part of me thinks no. And the only reason I would say no is because of why I think a lot of people in this career don't say anything, and that is for the fear of the repercussions that could end up coming back on you versus the person that has assaulted you. Because that does happen more often than not, that you being honest about what has happened to you ends up hurting you. And so it bothers me that I still feel like I shouldn't say anything, or that in that situation I wouldn't change the fact that I didn't say anything. The fact that part of me still feels that way upsets me, but I understand why I feel that way, because in the end we all just want to be successful. We want to be dancers. We want to be able to survive off of our art and do what we love. And when you're in a situation where you being honest about someone harassing you could end up backfiring on you or making you lose a job or something like to that manner, there's a part of you that's almost like it's not worth it, because I love what I do too much. I love it so much. And there should never be a time where I sacrifice my mental or physical health for what I do. but more often than not, that's the case. So I've come to terms with this, which is the reason why I'm filming this video, because now I can say, yes, I was sexually harassed by this person, and no, it was not right, and no, I didn't say anything, and there's a part of me that wished that I had, but I'm saying something now. And the reason I'm saying it now is because I hope that this will help someone else. Because unfortunately, I doubt that this is something that's going to end soon, if ever. But if me telling my story can help somebody, then I'm willing to tell it 1,000,000 times over. So I hope that you guys got something important from this video. It was not an easy one to film, but I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that I was inspired to be honest about this situation by hearing another person speak about theirs. So I wish you guys the best. I really hope that you never have to experience this. I hope that you never have to experience seeing anyone else experience it either, because it's hard and it's painful and it's something that doesn't leave you. But I hope that with you knowing now, and maybe knowing some of the things to look for, then maybe you can prevent it from happening to you or someone else, or maybe you can see the signs of if it's happening to someone that you care about. Yeah. Thank you for letting me be honest with you. Thank you for letting me open up my heart and kind of talk about something that I have been very silent about for a little while now. But out of everything, I just hope that I can help somebody else. So as usual, if you want to keep up with when I'm posting, which will hopefully be a lot more than I have been, then you can, of course, click the button on the stage left side of your screen or on the right side and click that subscribe button. I would love for you to subscribe and be a part of my little family over here. And if you want to be notified of when I'm posting, click that bell that's right there next to it. I would love to have you here. So, and of course, you guys, I never want you to forget to stay blind to the haters, because we don't need them. We don't need them in our lives. We don't want them in our lives. And stay dangerous to what society thinks that you should be, because you, everything you are,